What's going on YouTube? Ryan and Alex back from Dopemon once again. Today we're just going to go through the 2020 NHL Entry Draft results, go through how we did in our mock drafts, who we picked in certain spots, surprises of the day, crazy stuff that happened. There was a lot of things happened during this draft. And we're going to talk a little bit about some players who went in the second round who we were a little bit surprised about. Some guys that slid, some guys that rose dramatically. There's one guy that me and you both know, and anyone who watched the draft knows a huge surprise that in that first round. But we'll start going through the top to bottom first round. First overall, Lafreniere. Nothing more to say about that player.
The big
Bonafide number
shocker
one.
over here.
Yeah, big shocker. Number 2 and 3 was really where the draft started. I had Stutzle going too, but I did say that I don't think he should, but he will. I was wrong on that. Quinton
Yeah, you
Byfield.
were wrong.
Quinton Byfield goes 2. I think absolutely should have gone number 2. I'm really glad as a Leafs fan that I don't have to see him in Ottawa. That could have been really bad. Flashbacks from Jason Spetz's time in Ottawa and that line. Yeah, do you have anything to add on Byfield?
Nothing. That's who I thought would be taken by LA, and they took him.
Yeah,
Makes sense to me.
yeah, I'm really happy about that. Tim Stutzle, Ottawa at 3. Again, no shock that he goes after Byfield. There were some people saying, maybe another guy was going to sneak in there, Jamie Drysdale, Alexander Holtz, but Tim Stutzle was absolutely going to be number 3 after Byfield went, or vice versa. Um, a guy who is listed as a winger, but looks like they're going to try to convert him to a center iceman in the future.
Whether he does or not, Ottawa's really happy to have him.
Yes, absolutely.
Mhm.
Number 4 as Lucas Raymond. Now
I saw this coming.
you correctly guessed this, and when
hmm
Lucas Raymond at 4, you had a good top 4. You went 4 for 4.
Really clear to me.
You had a really good top 4. You went 4 for 4 on your mock draft. You had the much better mock draft than I did, as comparison. I'm not going to say how many I got right because it's terrible. Um, yeah, but Detroit gets the Swedish winger, the Mitch Marner comparison winger, and they're probably super happy with that. Um, in this range, the 4 to the 11 range, we said during our live stream of the draft, and if you showed up for that, thank you so much for hanging out with us. That this area was kind of anyone could go anywhere between 4 and about 9 or 10. So this kind of part of the draft was all over the place. The first big surprise, I think, I consider it a surprise, was at number 5. Jake Sanderson was picked.
That was a little bit of a surprise to me, but I do see where Ottawa's going. They do have 2 other prospects in the North Dakota system, particularly Jacob Bernard Docker, who's going to be Sanderson's partner. I think it's really important to build chemistry early, and they'll be doing that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
The other skater is Shane Pinto,
Pinto.
the center.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if that has any impact on, as they jump levels into the AHL potentially and then the NHL.
Mm-hmm.
Playing together, already having that chemistry might end up, helping the Ottawa Senators a lot. But
Mm-hmm.
I was obviously a little bit shocked. I had Jamie Drysdale ranked way higher than Jake Sanderson was in this draft. I think Jamie Drysdale will be the best defenseman in this draft. Now, Jake Sanderson might be a little bit more toward what Ottawa needs right now, considering they already have Thomas Chabot, Eric Brandstrom, and all those guys. So we'll see whether. Obviously, we'll wait and see 5-10 years from now. Maybe we'll do a look back on previous drafts and how they ended up. But I think this is definitely a candidate to be a question mark in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw them taking Drysdale as well because I see the hole that he fit. But I see where Ottawa's going, or maybe they couldn't convince Anaheim or New Jersey to trade down, for them to trade up. And they're like, you know what? Maybe we think he'd be taken 8th or 9th, but when you have the 3rd overall, when you have as many picks as Ottawa does, you can kind of take a risk like that. It's not like he's not going to be an NHL player. I might say, hey, maybe you could have gotten better with 5, but they got someone who's really good at 5, and that's what's important.
Mm-hmm. And number 6, we alluded to it, and you can see it on the screen, obviously, below us if we were watching the video. Anaheim, Jamie Drysdale falls into their lap. I think they might have been a little bit surprised, but go with
Happy to
Jamie
take.
Drysdale, who will revitalize the Anaheim defense in the future. I think they're on their way to a rebuild soon, full-scale rebuild, and Jamie Drysdale will be their first piece in that rebuild.
Speaking of things being handed into their lap, the Buffalo and Minnesota, that was a big shock for me.
Yeah, that was a big shock. We'll skip over Alexander Holtz. Good player. Was going to go in and about this range. If he went a higher, 5 or 6, I might have been surprised. But 7 in New Jersey, now that's pretty safe for them. Good shooter to complement Hughes and Heischer. Jack Quinn going to Buffalo, however, ahead of Marco Rossi and Cole Perfetti specifically, was a huge shock with the first big questionable decision made by the Buffalo management team. Jack Quinn is a good player, but is he better than Rossi and Perfetti?
No.
Yeah.
The answer is no to that. But apparently Buffalo saw something in him that they liked for at least goal scoring. For goal scoring prowess, he does have that on both Rossi and Perfetti, but in every other aspect of the game, positioning, playing the center, playing Perfetti can play center, passing, two-way sense, skating. That goes to Rossi and Perfetti. They both take the cake on that one.
Yeah, no, I had Jack Quinn going 10 to Winnipeg, so it was a little bit close. You had him all the way down, I believe, at 19.
I had him 19th going to Calgary, who ended up trading their pick. But yeah, I see him as a bit of a streaky goal scorer, and on the for the Ottawa 67s, he didn't play first line with Marco Rossi. He played second line, and I feel like he played against weaker D and was able to score a bit more, and maybe his stats maybe just a little bit inflated because of that. And see Buffalo take him at 8th. That was a huge shock to me.
Yeah, huge shock. Marco Rossi's slide from where I had him at 4 all the way to 9. You had him down here, but
yeah,
it's almost. I don't know how you predicted that slide. I don't know if you really did, but yeah, you took him all the way down at 9. Got that correct. Cole Perfetti rounded out our top 10 to Winnipeg, and that was your top 10. I think everyone was pretty much on the same page. That was 99% chance was going to happen. That was going to be your top 10. A guy like Lindell could have slipped in there. A guy like Jarvis or Askarov could have slipped in there, but that was pretty much your solid top 10. Mixed around from our mock draft a little bit, but that was how it slid. Yaroslav Askarov at 11. We were both right on this. Nashville took him. I was confident that he was not going to get by Nashville. We did a whole video on this, breaking down where he could fit into the top 10. It's on the channel as well. You can check that out. Yeah, but we were right on Askarov at that.
And the way the draft
got a bunch wrong in a row.
Yeah, the way the draft had gone, we had predicted that if any other team was gonna take him, it would be Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have a Marco Rossi on the table, I think that's an easy selection for Minnesota.
Yeah, they could have been. That's a good point. They could have been taking Askarov and then went, oh shoot, Marco Rossi's fallen in our lap. We got to take him. So yeah, that definitely could have been a huge impact. Anton Lundell at 12 to the Florida Panthers. I think was a really, really good pick. I really like Anton Lundell. I think he's going to be an incredible NHL player. Maybe not a first-line superstar like some of his other peers at center, but a very capable two-way top 2 centerman in the NHL. And Florida slotting right behind Alexander Barkov in a few years will be, I think, an incredible duo for that team.
Yeah, behind fellow Finn Barkov, I see him having an amazing career.
Yeah, and moving on to 13, Carolina's pick was Seth Jarvis. I predicted this one as well. This is one of the few that I got correct. Seth Jarvis, very skilled player going to Carolina there. Carolina has a very similar draft history and philosophy as the Maple Leafs do. I knew in then like the second and third round I was watching, I'm like, oh, they're gonna take this player that I know Toronto like will want, and they snipe them every time. Seth Jarvis, I think if he would have gotten to Toronto, would have absolutely been taken by them. 14, I guess, would have been the next surprise, I guess. I didn't have him rated at 14. I had him later in the teens. It's not too big of a jump, but Dylan
Yes,
Holloway
I
goes to
had
Edmonton.
them taking Amirov.
Mm-hmm. I had them taking Dawson Mercer.
Yeah, that's we
And
both had guys who were ranked a bit who are taken lower to
yeah,
be.
we both had guys who were taken lower, and like we both had guys who were speedy sniping wingers. Edmonton
Mm-hmm.
went a different route. They went for size and strength down the middle of the ice with a centerman. Obviously, a centerman can convert to the wing. It's easier to convert a center to the wing than it is from a wing to center position. So they could still do that, absolutely. But yeah, Edmonton going a little bit off the board from what people thought.
I think
Toronto's
it was a safe pick though for them. They got a guy who plays well and complements elite talent, and taking going a little bit down the board for a safer pick. I think that's good for Edmonton. That's had a lot of draft picks that haven't panned out.
Yeah, Edmonton's got to really start hitting on some of these first round
Hmm.
picks. Kyler Yamamoto, I guess, is their most recent first round pick that has made their lineup, but he's still in a work in progress. Obviously, Jesse Puljujarvi is a huge question mark. They got to start hitting on these guys like Dylan Holloway. Um, at 15, Toronto selected Rodion Amirov. I had him ranked a lot lower than this in the 20s, but that was solely because of his Russian commitments in the KHL. From a skill standpoint, I absolutely see him going here. A lot of the Leafs Twitter and everyone's uncle on Facebook was really mad about this pick because they didn't select a guy like Caden Gooley who went next, or Braden Schneider, big defenseman. They got another skilled, highly skilled, smaller sized, but he's not. I wouldn't consider him small, but he's not big either. Winger, and that's kind of not what they need. But here you're not. The NHL draft at this stage, outside the top 10, you're not drafting for need right away. You're drafting for futures. So drafting a guy like this who you could potentially trade if he has a really good year in the KHL and then comes over and has a really good year in the A, you could use his trade bait to go on a Stanley Cup run. And I think that's what the point of drafting is now, is to fill up that prospect cupboard with really highly skilled guys and not necessarily guys who are going to throw to the wolves at 18 years old and play in your top four on defense.
And I think of all the forwards left in the draft, he has the highest potential here to play on a top six role.
Yeah.
I think Toronto made the right choice here.
Yeah. 16, Montreal selects Caden Gooley. I think it was a solid pick. He goes before Braden Schneider. We had kind of going,
Really close to each
really,
other.
really close together.
Yeah, I'd Guley going first, but only by 2 or 3, and you the same. You for Schneider going first, but only by 2 or 3, right?
Yeah, only by a couple. Now 17, Chicago is our next big surprise of the draft since Jack Quinn
Yeah, it was a
earlier in the
huge
year.
surprise to me.
Huge surprise. Chicago fans I know are not quite as happy with this pick as the management seems to be. I had Lucas Reichel going 19 to Calgary's pick, which they eventually traded to the Rangers. And I said at 19, that's a huge stretch. I prefaced that
Yeah,
saying, I'm picking him here as a fun pick. This is not a hyper serious, realistic pick. But he went higher than what I picked him at 17 to Chicago.
yeah,
So Chicago
yeah.
must really like this player.
Yeah, I think that they have to see something in him that nobody else sees because they could have gotten him with a different pick later in the draft. Their second round pick, I think they could have taken him with.
Yeah, they had
So
the 46th pick was their second
yeah,
pick.
and I think he probably could have gone around there.
Yeah, I guess they weren't confident with that, and we're like, screw it, we're going to pick him at 17. Going before his countryman JJ Peterka, who didn't end up going until the second round. We'll touch on him later. But I had Peterka rated higher than Reichel.
Mm-hmm. Same. I don't see what Chicago sees unless they want to play him next season and put him on a line with Kane and maybe get 30 goals out of him and just hope for something right there. I don't know what Chicago's doing with this pick.
Yeah, now 18, we have New Jersey's second pick. They select Dawson Mercer. I think this is a pretty good steal for them. I
Mhm.
had them rated a little bit higher at 18, falling to New Jersey. I think New Jersey is super ecstatic about that.
Yeah, I don't. I think after seeing this pick, I thought they had won the draft.
Yeah, it's a pretty close call who won the draft. We'll talk about that.
Mhm.
We'll talk about that
Yeah,
later,
we'll talk
or at
about that
least who won
after.
the first round.
Yeah,
Um,
at this moment, I definitely thought, yeah, that New Jersey had taken it.
19, New York Rangers pick. They traded up to the Calgary Flames' pick, selected Braden Schneider. He fell to the point where they had a chance to get him for a little pick swap for with Calgary, and they selected him, another defenseman in their system, and they're starting to get really look really good in the defensive
Hmm.
department.
And I saw them taking with their 22nd overall, Helge Grans, who
Mm-hmm.
ended up dropping to 35th. So I had a feeling that they'd be taking specifically a right shot defenseman. So this one wasn't a surprise to me.
Another surprise in his draft was next. New Jersey selecting
Yeah, speaking of surprises on yeah.
Shakir Mukhamadullin goes 20 to New Jersey. You like this player? What do you like about him?
I like this pick because I like Shakir Mukhamadullin, but I do think it was a little bit high, and I feel like for New Jersey that they thought they were going to get in on Braden Schneider, and they wanted a defenseman out of this draft because they had already gotten two forwards, and I thought for them Braden Schneider was their number one, Shakir Mukhamadullin was their number two, and they said, "Fuck it, let's just take our number two."
Yeah.
They drafted for position because they had so many picks, and that's Shakir Mukhamadullin. I definitely see how I could make the argument for him being better than the other D that got taken after him, Justin Barron, Wallinder, Helge Grans. I see how, but I do think it was a little bit high, but I'm a huge fan of him, and I'm glad he got drafted in the first round.
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of taking a risk like this when you have multiple picks in the first round. They're
Hmm.
walking away
Hmm.
already, and they know they're walking away already with Holtz and Mercer, two high ceiling, talented wingers. So they take a shot here as Shakir Mukhamadullin, and if they hit on it, they look like geniuses in 5 years. I think this is a great pick at 20. He could have gone in the 20s, so I see why they took him here and
Yeah,
not waited. Um, and yeah, you take a chance on this guy.
yeah. I in my personal notes for him, I had called him a safe pick. So I see New Jersey safe pick right there.
Speaking of taking your chances on a guy,
Oof,
the Columbus
that was
Blue
a big one.
Jackets, with their 21st pick, selected Yegor Chinnikov. Now, during the live stream, we did not know who this player was.
No, we looked him up.
We had to look him up on the fly. The guys at Sportsnet and the NHL Network had no information on him.
It didn't have
It,
any video on him.
it was hilarious to watch. They're all scrambling and confused at him. Like Brian Burke was sitting there and going, "The only thing I got on this player, he's a winger." And then I'm not going to say anything else on him. And then he passed it on to whoever was with him. It was Sam Constantino or somebody. But yeah, it just blew everyone out of the water with this pick.
Yeah, because this guy Yegor Chenikov, he's in his draft year was last year, so he's been eligible for like this is his second draft eligible year. So it's going in the first round. That's unheard of.
Yeah, this is a pick that Columbus was really high on, I guess, that no one really saw, but they really wanted this player. I looked at some video of him. He's really skilled. He's a good
Yeah,
shooting Russian winger.
I'll give it to them. If they're going to take somebody in their second year
Yeah.
uh, up there, he'd be the guy. He's big scoring, loves to score. In the KHL, it's hard to score, and he's doing it. So
He looks a
late
little
numbers
bit
are.
like Artemi Panarin, which is what I
I saw the
think
same comparison.
the Columbus Blue Jackets are banking on.
Hmm.
Obviously, Panarin left them, so they see that comparison and possibly replacement for him in a few years. Yegor Chinnikov, the absolute biggest surprise of this draft, at least in the first round, was shocking to me. First thing I said was who. I
Yeah.
thought he misspoke. I was super confused on the live when it happened. So interesting pick here. Now at 22, Washington goes with a guy that you had fall out of the first round. A lot of people are really concerned about this player, Hendrix Lapierre. Now,
Mhm.
I had Hendrix Lapierre going to 16 in Montreal. I think he has enough upside to potentially be the steal of the draft.
Mhm. I had ranked him in the 20 to 25 range, if not for his injuries. So
Mm.
I see Washington seeing the same thing and saying, hey, you know what? We'll look past the injuries and draft him around there because he definitely is one of the most skilled passers in the draft, but he does lack goal scoring prowess. He needs to develop that.
Right, right. And yeah, I mean, he's still a work in progress. He'll go back to junior. He played in the Q last year. The Q's currently playing, so I'm not sure if he is, but Q's currently going on out there. Yeah, we'll see how he does this year. If he can stay healthy
Mhm.
this year and put up a solid season and potentially go to the World Juniors if that's still on for
Yeah,
Team
he'll
Canada, he's gonna improve his stock a whole lot, and I think
for sure.
Washington will love that. Next to
I could
23.
see. Sorry, I could see a guy like him because he's such a good passer. You know, don't quote me on this one, but you can quote me on this one. Getting Ovechkin to break Wayne Gretzky's goal record in Washington. I see that. You know, they've maybe they're looking for someone to replace Kuznetsov and Backstrom at least some of that time. And I think a guy like Hendrix Lapierre has the elite skills that can do that. And you don't get to draft that at 22 very often.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, could be a huge steal. My outside shot to be the steal of the draft in a few years time. Like I said, we might revisit that in a couple years. 23 Tyson Forster is selected for Philadelphia. Now I said during our mock draft process that I thought Tyson Forster for sure was going to the Ottawa Senators. I was the most
Hmm.
confident about that, and I still am. I, st- I still am. I think if he was available to Ottawa at 27, they would have, or 28, they would have taken him. But Tyson Forster resembles, to an extent, a guy like Mark Stone, a guy that everyone missed on a couple years ago because they undervalued him because of certain issues toward his skating. Um, but his shot is incredible. There's things about his game that obviously Philadelphia really loves to take him all the way to 23. I had him in my first round. You did not. We had a couple guys in here that were bouncing in and out of our first round. Obviously, you can't get everyone right in that first round. But yeah, I think a great pick here by Philadelphia. And seems like a Philadelphia player.
Hmm. I definitely see it as a Philadelphia pick. I couldn't agree. I think he fits really well in a system. I'm not the biggest fan of him myself. I saw him falling into the second round. I think he loves to shoot, and I love his shot, but I don't think he's a very smart skater, and I think he's missing that in his game.
Yeah, we'll
I
see. We'll
I was
see how
really
that goes.
shocked to see him get taken here, and I was almost when you said Ottawa would take him at 28. I was thinking, oh, I hope they take him with a later pick.
Right. Yeah, because they have so many in the they had so
Hmm.
many in the second round there. We can get
Hmm.
to that. 24. Calgary's traded all the way down, got multiple trades out of it, multiple picks, and still selected Connor Zary, which I wouldn't be surprised was their original target if they were
Hmm.
to use that pick at 19. Connor Zary
Likewise.
fits Calgary really well, I think,
Yeah, I
in my
think when
opinion.
they saw who got drafted before them, they're sitting there with that 19th pick, knowing, hey, you know, we could go down a few, pick up an extra third, pick up another extra third, just to get the same guy, and then that's what they did. Connor Zary, he's an excellent skater. What you see is what you get, and I can see him doing amazing in Calgary. He's really going to solidify their forward group.
Yeah, and I'm a huge fan of trading down to get extra picks.
Hmm.
If your guy, if you don't like, if your top pick is gonna drop a little further, you trade down and get an extra third or a fourth or whatever. After the third, fourth round, you're just trading for a chance to win the lottery at that point. You're buying extra players for the extra chance to really hit on a guy. And the more goals you have, obviously, the better chance of having you hitting on one of them. So Calgary, I think, was had a really great first day of the draft. Um, yeah, that's all we'll say about Connor Zary. 25,
Mhm.
Colorado selected Justin Barron, another defenseman. First since 20 for Shakir Mukhamadullin, so a little bit of a gap there. And the last defenseman drafted in the first round.
Mhm.
Played for the
Now
Halifax. Sorry, go ahead.
oh no, you're saying about him
Yeah,
from the Halifax who said.
the Halifax Mooseheads defenseman was hurt last year, so he slipped, I think, a little bit due to his injury. I mentioned this in our mock draft video. I think Colorado's getting a very good defenseman here. Colorado has an incredible defensive pool. Players not even in the NHL. Guys like Timmins, who played a little bit in the NHL, Bowen Byram from last year, and now Justin Barron. Huge, huge upside on all these guys. Their defense in the next, I would say, 3 years down the road is going to be scary, dude. They're going to have like
Mhm.
a top five of elite level defensemen. They're going to win a cup with it, 100%. If the Colorado Avalanche stay the course and they sign good players with all the cap room they have, they will win the Stanley Cup within the next 3 years.
Yeah, I had Colorado taking a defenseman as well. I had taking Topi Niemela.
Right.
I definitely saw the same thing Colorado did, get a D out there, right-handed shot, but I had Justin Barron falling to San Jose because I thought of the injury concerns. Doesn't look like it's going to be a concern. It's going to be a huge pickup for Colorado because if it wasn't for this guy's injuries, I could see him being a top 15 pick, and him dropping to 25. That's a steal.
Yeah, it was a great pick. 26, St. Louis picked Jake Neighbors. Jake Neighbors is a little high, I think, for this draft, even though I had him going to, I think I had him going to Vegas at 29. Um,
Mm.
a lot of people didn't have them in their first round. He was on a lot of lists of players not to draft in the first round, but St. Louis going with it. He's a really energy-based winger, and I think maybe St. Louis was after a guy like that instead of a guy with a really high ceiling, um, like a guy who's picked right after him. But yeah, interesting pick
Mm.
here by St. Louis. We'll see in a few years whether they were correct on this player. A lot of people, like I said, have him not being the best in the future.
Yeah,
We'll
I
see.
have a. He's a versatile like winger, but I have him being a bit lazy at times, and you can't be lazy in the NHL. You definitely can't be lazy in St. Louis, and if they can break that out of him, though, I could see him being a really effective bottom six winger.
Yeah, me and you actually talked about something off a stream that um, I don't really believe personally in the word bust player,
Mm.
but this guy could be what people would consider a bust pick at this point. He's
Mm.
definitely got that potential, but yeah, I don't really believe in that. It's
I
people
call it
say whatever they
a
want.
low floor.
Yeah, we'll call it that.
Hmm.
It's a better
A
term, I
lower
think.
floor.
Better term to be accurate on that. Anyway,
Yeah.
27, Anaheim with Jacob Perreault. I had him a little bit higher here, but Anaheim's taking a shot. Son of Yannick Perreault, offensive specialist, the opposite of his father, who's a defensive specialist. I like this
Hmm.
pick in the first round. I think he should have been taken a little bit higher. But the way this shook down with Mukhamadullin and Chinnikov sneaking in there, he drops to 27.
I don't like Jacob Perreault.
Mm-hmm.
I do, I see the elite offensive skills. I see especially in shooting, but being a defensive liability, I see why he got cut from the Helinka Cup. It was because of that, his lack of good work ethic, his lack of consistency, is just couldn't keep up that elite skills all the time, game in, first period, second period, third period, just couldn't keep it up, and that shows, and a team shows. But a team like Anaheim that I think was 29th in goals for last season, they need goals, and a guy like Jacob Perreault, they could say, screw it, you don't need to play defense, go out there and get some goals for us. I think he could be a good addition to Anaheim.
Mm-hmm. You like the next pick. I know you talked about it. You actually predicted this correct. Ridley Gregg to
This
Ottawa at
is the one that
28.
I predicted. This is this is exactly what I thought would happen. Really like Ridley Gregg. He's a smaller guy, but he's got a plays big. He brings everything big, big smile, big heart, big attitude, big hits, big drives to the net. Yeah, he's still got some things to work on, but he's just got a big smile on him all the time, and it's hard to hate this guy. So
Hmm.
I had him taken by Ottawa at 28th, and that's what happened.
Yeah, we'll slide through these last three picks. Vegas, Brendan Brisson, Dallas, Maverick Bork, San Jose, Ozzy Weisblatt. Ozzy Weisblatt made neither of our lists in the top 31. I didn't have Brendan Brisson. You did, I believe.
I
Maverick.
uh I did.
Yeah, I
Let
think
me
you
pull up
did. I think you did. You had him in the
that's funny.
mid
I think
20
it's
range.
exactly. I actually did have Vegas taking Brizon. This is exactly what I thought would happen.
Oh, nice.
Because I
Back
know
to
you
back.
like to compare Tyson Forster to Mark Stone, but I'd like to compare Brizon to Mark Stone. He's a bit of a slower guy, but he has the hands, same as Mark Stone. He's got a really good work ethic, really high IQ. He's really smart and likes to turn over pucks in the neutral zone. Likes to make offensive chances, even if he doesn't have that himself. And I think that playing either on the center or on the wing with Mark Stone can teach him how to bring those skills to the NHL level.
Yeah.
Being in the same organization, I think it's a really good pick for Las Vegas. It's another one that I had predicted that came true.
Yeah, and now we're just going through real quick a couple guys in the second round. We'll scroll down here. Guys that fell for us. A couple guys who went on a real big free fall, in our opinion. I have a couple guys in mind. We'll start with William Olinder. I think he would have been a guy who went in the first round, but though 32nd, between 31 and 32 is only a pick. There's not a people seem to think the difference between the first and second round is so crazy. It's not when you're getting toward that end of the first round. Willinger could have been in that first round, absolutely. What do you think, being the Sens fan, about Robbie Yerventi?
Oh, I wasn't done about Willander. I'm sorry. I thought
Oh,
I think it was a bit of a jump. So I would have taken him lower. I see why teams see the huge upside in his skating, but I think that's a jump, and I think it's a huge risk for Detroit that could probably use a different D.
hmm. Yeah, I know
And
you liked a guy
Robbie,
like Grons better.
yeah, maybe in Detroit. I see. It's just as well. Robbie Yarvanti. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that one right. I like his game. I didn't have a I hadn't scouted him personally before this draft because I thought he'd be more of a third round pick. But coming into this season, because the European leagues are going, well, he's been playing in the SM Liga and he's been playing really well. Projects to have a really good career, and I think it's a good pick.
Yeah, I was a little surprised on the pick. They left a lot
Mm-hmm.
of really good players on the board. Guy who
Mm-hmm.
came next, John Jason Paterka. They only have him here as
Huge fan of
John
Paterka.
Paterka, but we were huge on that guy. Helger Grons, Sam Colangelo, Marat Kuznatinov, Thomas
Yeah, the
Bordeleau.
next
We're
two picks
all
I was really big on.
Yeah, the next two picks, and people had Sam Colangelo and Kuznatinov and Bordeleau going in the first round as well, and they went really off the board, I think, at this position at 33
Mm-hmm.
to select Ruby or Venti. Um, yeah,
So I feel
it
like
was an
at
interesting
that
pick.
spot would be appropriate maybe in a different draft, and maybe because the people after him should have gone before him. That you were talking about during the draft, when a team has their eyes on someone, that they kind of get tunnel vision and they don't realize that maybe a bit of the better skaters aren't being picked and are still on the board, but because they have their eyes on their one guy, they just make that pick.
Yeah. Now,
I
just
think that's what
to
happened
yeah, definitely, I think what happened here.
here. Hmm.
Just to I want to touch on three players real quick. Guys who fell, I believe, in my opinion, way further than they should have. We'll start with Noel Gunler. He went all the
Oh,
way 41 to the Carolina Hurricanes. On stream, we were shocked that this player hadn't gone by like
yeah, I
27,
was pissed.
28. We were really upset that this player hadn't been picked yet. Really high upside. In Carolina, I think I mentioned it before, I alluded to it. This was the guy that I was like, oh, I hope he slips to Toronto. I hope he slips to Toronto. And then Carolina
Hmm.
took them because, of course, they did. Carolina Hurricanes snipe us all the time. But yeah, Noel Gunler slipping all the way to 41. I thought that was a really big mistake.
Yeah, that's the thing with the European leagues having opened up. He at the time of the draft, he had only played 4 games and he didn't look amazing. And I think he gets a little bit overlooked. I feel like he gets maybe classed in with Lukas Raymond and Alexander Holtz a lot because he's from the SHL. They expect him to maybe be a little bit better. They think he should like be scoring more goals, be a better sniper, but he's not that kind of guy. They complaints about his offensive consistency, but he's not like he. That's just not his game isn't all about goal scoring. It's about being a committed skater, but both ends of the puck, both ends of the ice, and for that he isn't inconsistent. For he's really consistent with that, and I'm surprised that he got overlooked.
Yeah, honestly, one of the biggest followers for me on my draft board. The next guy I want to talk about was picked number 48 to Montreal, Jan Mysak. Jan Mysak, I had in the top 31, fell all the way to 48 to Montreal. They traded, I think, did they trade up to get this? No, I think they just had the back-to-back picks.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I think a little bit undervalued because he is a defensive specialist and not an offense like a premier offensive guy. He's got the offensive skills. We touched about this in our mock draft a little bit, but is hailed as being more of an extreme defensive specialist.
A penalty kill specialist. You don't get a lot of that.
Yeah, you don't get a lot of those, especially at the age that these guys are at. Having those skills now is kind of unheard of for a lot of these players. So I think Montreal getting Mashak at 48 is an absolute steal and a travesty he fell this far.
Yeah, I had him going 26th to St. Louis. I thought he fit really well. He plays a really strong game, and I love that defensive game. I love these defensive forwards, and I think that goal scorers get a little bit overrated. And when a skater can't, they fall a little bit in the draft, and I hate seeing that.
Mm-hmm. And the last guy I want to talk about is a little further down the list. Jeremy Poirier. We didn't talk about this player in our mock draft. I didn't have him in the
He
top
was
30.
on my he was one of the players I had scouted, but I had him ranked. Actually, this is where I thought he would go.
Oh, really? You thought he would go
Yeah,
here?
yeah. This was not a surprise to me. I had him going into the third round.
I was a little surprised about this pick. I thought he'd be a early to mid second round pick.
Hmm.
But yeah, 72, man. 72, I think, is a really crazy drop. But yeah, I guess we had differing opinions on this player. I like him. Yeah.
I see the upside. He's an elite puck handler. He's like the definition of like a puck moving defenseman. I feel like in today's NHL, he's got a really good shot, but I feel like he takes a lot of low percentage and selfish shots. He doesn't make good choices, and I don't know if part of that. I think part of that team see a lower end on the defensive IQ, and because he's so bad defensively that they just don't see the NHL upside to him, and he's too much of a risk. He's got such a low floor that the ceiling for him, the offensive ceiling, just might not be worth it.
Yeah, and he'll never be a defensive specialist, but I think he could,
Mm.
because of his age, junior guys, they aren't, no, there's not a lot of big defensive specialists in this draft. A guy like, we'll mention real quick, Topi Niemela is an outlier in his ability to read
Yeah,
the
for
play
sure. No,
defensively.
at the age of 17, 18, you mentioned Niemela taken at 64th. I had him going in the first round because he has that, uh, like the defensive awareness that just is unheard of at his age. Yeah, you're right that at that age it is really rare.
Yeah, to be, to having that level
Hmm.
of development in your defensive game. And I think if he learns that to a point where it's replacement level and average, then this will look really weird in a few years. He'll be,
And
if
the
anyone
other
does a redraft, he'll be in their top 30.
right, yeah, he could definitely go higher.
Yeah, if anyone does a redraft video, I think this is a player, that candidate to jump up. And we'll end this video on.
Oh, sorry, I had one
Oh, you
more
have
on
one thing?
Poirier. just another note that I had seen from scouting reports that he gives up on plays easily.
Hmm.
He's as a defenseman, you see him stop skating, and his partner, maybe giving him some attitude, saying, "Hey, why aren't you being a team player here? You got to keep skating. You can't let me down." And maybe in the interviews, he didn't do too well, and teams thought, "Hey, you know what? I see an attitude problem here," and that's why he dropped.
Yeah, perhaps. I
Mhm.
definitely see. I definitely get the logic of why he dropped, but again, that's a tough one to drop all the way to 72. And we'll end this
Mhm.
video just to
I
mention.
got two more that dropped. I'm so sorry, Ryan.
No, no, I just wanted to mention. Okay, we can do that afterwards. I want to mention. Well, Ty Spalanek at 72. Best
Yeah, that's
name.
another one that dropped. Uh,
Best name in the draft. 100%. I just wanted to mention it.
Zion Nybeck, I feel like he dropped as well.
Yeah. Talk about him
And
for a bit.
Martin Chromiak.
Chromiak. Tell me
He
about
went
him.
he went 128th to LA, and I felt like that was a huge drop.
Yeah, that's a huge drop. Where did you have him? I didn't look at this guy very much.
Where did I have him? I ranked him 44th. I didn't have him somewhere in the middle second round.
Yeah, that's a huge drop. That's the case. Martin
Hmm.
Chromiak, LA Kings. Hopefully get a good player there.
Hmm.
He's a right winger, as said by Hockey DB. But yeah, we obviously won't talk too much about the 5, 6, 7th round guys. These guys are just if someone hits, then someone hits. A lot of these guys will never see NHL action, unfortunately, and some guys even in the first round may miss. But the draft is what it is. It's a crazy time, and best of luck to all these players in their future careers. I think the draft went really well for a lot of teams. Real quick, who do you think
Sure.
was the big winner of the draft?
All right. I think there are a few winners in the first round. I want to say Ottawa and New Jersey. I think they pulled away with huge wins.
Yeah,
And I
for
think
sure.
overall, I'm going to give it to Toronto
Oh wow. Okay.
because this could have been a travesty. This could have been an absolute travesty. No first round pick. That's after the year that they had. Good year, but falling flat in the playoffs. They need to do something big, and getting a 15th overall of the pick, getting Rodion Amirov, I think that's huge. I think that's great for the organization, and I love the other picks that they made in this draft. Uh, Roni Hirvonen, I had him in the first round. They picked him up in the second. Topi Niemela, I had him in the first round. They picked him up in the third. Another guy had VT Miitanen. I had him in the second round. They got him in the sixth. I think they did amazing in this draft. I think they're the winners.
No, that's very good. I agree with you for New Jersey and Ottawa, just solely from
Hmm.
the fact they had 3 first round picks. Able to hit on more guys. I think I put the slight edge to New Jersey, even though Ottawa had number 3 and 5. I
I
think
agree.
Jersey made away with some really good players. There's still a question mark there with Ottawa at 5. My two, I'll go different since you took Ottawa and Jersey. I'll take Anaheim. I think who had a
Mm.
very good first round, taking Jamie Drysdale and Jacob Perreault. I know you're not a big fan of Jacob Perreault. I am. I think if they hit on this player, they could walk away with two of the best players of this draft at center and defense. And my
For sure.
second big winner, and I'll scroll down just to see it. My second big winner of this draft, Yegor Chinnikov. Yegor Chinnikov has risen in his stock from everywhere in the NHL now. People are Googling who this player is because Columbus picked him. And I think, you know, congrats to that guy going from where people were didn't even have him ranked in their top 100, going 21 to Columbus. Great,
Yeah, some
great, great
people
for
didn't
him.
have him ranked at all this year. They didn't think he'd be drafted again.
Yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
some people probably didn't even have him on their board, and Columbus went, screw it, we're taking him 21. So big props to him and Jarmo Kekalainen for the balls to pick him at
Hmm.
21. That man does not care what you think. um, yeah, anything else to say about any of these players, Alex?
Nope. I'm like you said. I hope they all have amazing careers. I wish them all the best, despite the critiques we do have of them.
Yeah,
I hope
and
they all grow
obviously
and become full NHL players.
yeah, I hope they get some NHL time too. They get some time in the show. Obviously, we'll see what happens in the junior levels this year. Uh, Hopefully, we'll get an idea of what happens in the WHL and the OHL and the A in the next couple days. The European leagues and the KHL are already going, so those guys have a little bit of a head start. But yeah, and we'll see how many of these guys make the NHL. Let us know in the comments if you're still watching this video. Let us know who you think out of this draft who's gonna play in the NHL. Obviously, I think Alex Lafreniere is a lock. Um, but other than that, is Byfield to see time with LA or Tim Stutzle with Ottawa, or maybe you think a guy like Anton Lundell is NHL ready and he's going to play in Florida this year? Let us know down there, and also like the video for us. Really appreciate that. It helps out the channel a whole lot, guys. And subscribe for more NHL related content. After this crazy week of hockey and free agency, we're going to get back to some more NHL games, and the NHL 21 video games coming out soon. So we'll have that for you as well. But for now, we're going to stick with talking some hockey.
Yeah, before we get to that, we will be doing a free agent frenzy summary either tonight, tomorrow, sometime this weekend, just to recap all the trades, all the signings, all the buyouts, and how teams are looking going into next season.
Yeah, look for that this weekend. Obviously, we're going to be working around Thanksgiving and our family plans and all that. So happy Thanksgiving to everyone in advance. And yeah, that's all I have, Alex.
That's all I have as well, Ryan.
All right, YouTube, thanks so much for watching again. We won't always have Pokemon on this channel, but
We will always be dope. Thank you so much for watching.